Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Hearthstone. Let's continue. We got quite a lot to try and accomplish here. I don't think we're going to get all 4 victories with the druid and 1 victory with the priest. It's a lot to do in this last recording, or the 3rd recording at least. I don't believe we tried the wild druid. How come my orders are all out of order? I guess because I built them out of order or something, or renamed them out of order. Next time I do this, I'm gonna probably call them like 1 period W for wild and then the name of the deck. That way it makes there's some kind of system in naming these things. By all reason and rhyme, I should go to a 4th recording. I don't know if I'm really going to do that. So, in the last recording, I talked about how I was happy that PAX West happened, that there were some independent games that got announced here. Ooh, this is a mech deck. I like that. I like that concept. But I didn't really talk about some of the games that came out. So, Daedalic, creators of Anna's Quest and Deponia and several other point-click adventure games they're a German company, so I think their games probably play a lot better in German every time. And because of that, this is even more interesting. They had this point-click adventure game called The Whispered World, or what is it? The Whispering Wood? WW something, so it's either The Whispered World, I think. That's what I wrote down.
Reporting for duty.
So they were going to make a sequel to that, and it's a flat animation 2D thing. Like all the Daedalic games have. They're going to make a sequel to it, and I would have assumed at that point Daedalic would have absolutely just always made flat 2D animation, good quality looking animation, but 2D, for all their games forever. That's what I assumed their plans and their intentions would have been. So it's very strange when they come out with a game called Silence, which was at one time going to be the sequel to The Whispered World, and it is full 3D animation. It looks great, something you might expect from like
reporting for duty.
Lionsgate or Disney. Not really Disney, more the ones that did Up. I want to say Pixel, but I don't think that's the name of it. I cannot, for the life of me, think of the name of that series. That company that makes all the animations that's better than Disney. I guess I have to remember that. Anyway, so Silence comes out. It looks like it's written as good as one of those movies, even though this is a video game. It looks like it's animated as good as one of those movies. And it's very surprising and very intriguing, because now the world may be introduced to a new Daedalic that is really going to step up the thing. If it's not even a point-click adventure game, if it's more of a standard adventure game, if they're just branching out insanely to different avenues, that would be great. So, I'm interested in that. The hype is starting on that one, although I'll probably forget it, because that's what any smart person should do, is not get hyped on games until they actually really are only about a month away from coming out, and then start doing your research. Anything promised before a month out, you have such a low chance of it being accurate. You you get the whole No Man's Sky thing. Yeah, I'm talking about No Man's Sky again. But
Reporting for duty.
yeah, things are subject to change, and for all I know, I've more than likely just seen a bunch of cutscenes that might have no real relation to the actual gameplay element at all.
What's the plan?
So I do have to keep that in mind also.
Job's done. Get down!
Now, I'm not sure if Daedalic is publishing or making this next game, but I kind of thought they were, but I couldn't confirm it. They announced another game called Beautiful Desolation, which looks like a top-down, Diablo-esque, maybe fighting game, adventure game, which didn't particularly look like a point-and-click adventure game, but it might be a top-down point-and-click adventure game. And what's strange about that is there's this game called Kanye, or C-A-Y-N-E. I would heavily recommend everybody type that in, C-A-Y-N-E game trailer, and go check it out, just for a very interesting combination of a special song made for the game and the trailer that they're talking about. And it is a maybe not safe for work, but not really type game, and definitely WTF as something to watch. And they're gonna give that game out when it's done for free. So they've announced the second game, they haven't finished the first one, which is a good like middle point
You asked for it.
to then talk about. I mean, I kind of want to know what Beautiful Desolation is. I kind of want to know more about all these games and every game. And unless you come out and tell me you're making like Call of Duty Battlefield or a wrestling game or something where I can just say, alright, there's no way you're going to catch my attention for this, so I can just stop paying attention right now. Most games I do want to know more information about.
Job's done.
Whether I play them or not is a different thing. But them announcing a game when they haven't even finished the first game brings us quite easily to Ark Survival Evolved, which managed to a second time, I believe now, at least a second time, piss off its fans, because they had this whole free-to-play element that was its own thing, and then they forced that back into the paid thing, and this game is still in early access, so they're experimenting with everything, and it's still in early access, and that's the big sticking point, and it is a very legitimate sticking point, I think, in my mind. They have announced paid DLC. The game's not finished, according to them, yet they want you to pay money for a finished DLC product. I assume we have to, even in these times of potential desperation, I don't think we're at a point where any infrastructure, any system is going to allow you to sell early access DLC. But that's pretty much what they're trying to do. It's like to say that even the DLC isn't finished, but we'll sell that to you. It's like, so people on Steam have particularly been using the concept of early access as an excuse to never really have to justify or finish a product or explain the flaws in the product.
My hand is
and
too
it
full.
feels very much the same case here.
Whoops.
So, yeah. Once again, they've irritated their community, and I imagine people aren't happy about it, and this game is never going to succeed at this rate. It just can't. Let's see, this.
Job's done.
Yeah, so
Whoops.
I probably will never play Ark. Yeah, I kind of let him right into that one, didn't I? But maybe I was just trying to make him waste 2 mana.
Tonight, a tale of terrible tragedy.
The thrill of the hunt.
So now I just need to silence this guy. Doing pretty good. He has way too many cards. What is he doing? I don't know. So, somewhat in a similar move. Mafia 3 now. Not some kind of, we don't really know, and we haven't been dealing too much with this company that Ark Survival Evolves has been making games. Mafia 3 is a big publisher, I believe.
Job done.
This is either EA or Ubisoft or one of those people. This is a name that would be recognizable. I wish I had written down who. Mafia 3 is coming out, and they've already announced DLC. The game hasn't even come out yet, and they're already announcing new DLC. And it's like, really? You haven't even convinced people to buy the main game, and you're already telling them bad news and trying to make it good news. It's trying to say, oh, by the way, the game is not going to have these elements in because we're going to make you pay for those extra. So, I have no idea. People, developers, publishers are insane at this point. They've just gone completely insane for DLC. There's nothing more that I can really put on that. And
We're gonna be rich.
Speaking of being insane, EA Access or Origin Access on consoles, or vice versa, maybe it's EA Access on consoles and Origin Access computers, has been this service where you get like I think you get games from EA a little bit earlier. You get, I think, a discount, and
Just in time.
I believe you have some other extra
Time runs
features.
out on me.
And so, if you played a lot of EA games, there was, I think, some back library there too that you got for free. So for like 1 month, you could play 3 really old games from it. I think I may just be shooting my mouth off, but I know that they did at times. They did at times make it so that it seemed like it might be a good move.
I've got the beast in my stomach.
So it can. The main thing about EA Access in particular would be the assumption and the implication there that you're definitely going to get that discount or that early access to the newest games from EA. So why am I talking about all this? They have specifically excluded Titanfall 2, which already Titanfall 2 in its beta didn't seem like it was blowing the world's socks off. Probably a decent game, but it still needs some work type thing. I believe EA also made the Division. Yeah, the Division. And they're struggling to make that a success still. And I imagine they've given up on that. So you're on this early access program, and then all of a sudden they say, well, in this case we're excluding the one game that would have particularly been a benefit to having the service. It's ridiculous. It's underhanded. It's unfair. Possibly fraudulent. Seems certainly fraudulent to me. If they had ever said at any point that in any piece of article that included EA access or Origin access, included any kind of discount or early access to every single game that was coming forward, then they have come full circle from that and lied. And that's certainly the implication that they gave. Now, I wouldn't do any of that EA access anyways. I'm being a little bit of a hipster here, going, I was too smart for this. Honestly, I was too cheap for it, and probably don't play that many EA games. But I wouldn't have done this anyways because it seems just like a different way of pre-ordering, a different way of doing DLC. It seems like a pre-order on top of a pre-order because we're only getting a discount for new games. So you would $10 off potentially isn't that much. Let's try the Priester. There was this other game that came out recently and announced, and that was Mirage Magic, and it's kind of a Overwatch with swords game where you play as mages, and it is very Alibaba and the 40 Thieves type timeline. They have Genie's Jin tech. One of the characters actually said, I need to upgrade my Jin tech. Instead of using technology, they're using magic. But the very, very Middle Eastern styled Aladdin, like the Disney Aladdin movie thing, not the Middle East, that has now replaced that culture.
In the light's name.
And I'm not sure how much of that was accurate anyways. But the thing that's interesting about it does have the sword mechanics, so it's probably not that much really. And you could overemphasize it has sword mechanics quite a lot. There was a Kickstarter for a game a few years back, and I don't know what happened to it. It probably failed. That was supposed to be this game that was all about sword play and mechanics. And I was thinking to myself, yeah, that will interest such an incredibly small niche of people. Just most people won't care one bit about that. This is interesting.
In the light's name.
Interesting way to play there, but it worked. It really highlights why there can only be really one Overwatch, and only one Overwatch. It highlights why, like, Battleborn in a lot of ways failed, although Battleborn failed in several different ways because it was also not as pure of a hero shooter type game as it should have been. Should I kill this guy for protection? I'm going to. But it also kind of playing with genies and well, djinns, that's what they call them. So playing with something besides technology, even playing with magic like we would have in the Western world, that witchcraft style magic stuff, I don't think it works. There you go.
Just a
bring this guy, take this out, heal this guy, take him out in the turn. Interesting. It just doesn't feel like it would work. Particularly in Overwatch. Overwatch is everybody has technology, but they can pretend to be whatever you want. So the angel is running around looking like an angel, but I'd assume in the backstory, if anybody cares about the backstory, you would find out that she's using technology for all of that.
A new recipe.
So, yeah, without using magic, trying to get away from Overwatch in any way, differentiate yourself from that, it's not really going to work very well. And I think there's gonna be a whole class of games that's going to attempt to out Overwatch, and they're gonna fail miserably. Particularly since Overwatch is just able to announce a new character like nothing. And I believe they're already doing that. Let's see.
On with the show!
A new recipe.
Let's see. Let's go ahead and change from this to this.
Job's done.
In the turn. Get a little sip of water. I try not to drink when I'm recording other things, but I also don't talk as much anymore. I have definitely noticed that too. That more and more as I'm covering games, as I'm playing like The Walking Dead Michonne, which I haven't talked about, but it was a bad game. I felt like they ported it from something else, or they hired out a different company to make it.
Better to eat you with.
Something like that. I mean, it just did not run in the Telltale tool at all. And there's no reason, if that game was really made by Telltale, the game would not run in their own tool unless they hired an incredibly new group of programmers and they gave them that project. The entire game feels like it was like canceled halfway through, and then they cobbled it together. The story seems way too short. It seems like a complete ripoff of most of the first seasons. Michonne, as a character, bounces back and forth from being one way that is, and then another way, and like one way she's this timid, suicidal creature, and the other way she's this super powerful zombie hunter, and she just bounces back and forth. I talked to somebody who kind of follows The Walking Dead but doesn't remember much of it, and I was asking them, is Michonne suicidal in the TV series? And they go, no, not really. And then like, did you know she used to be a lawyer? And she goes, no, not really. Did you know she used to have daughters? And she's like, no, they've never said anything like that. So the game just really added a ton of stuff to that character, and I don't know how canon it really is going to be, that experience. If you've watched the TV series, it pretty much adds, I think, nothing to the TV series and isn't worth playing. And that's really sucky to have Telltale's, like, they're coming into grace from making pretty consistently bad failed games, was The Walking Dead, and then they started to get some success there, and then they dropped the ball again on
Job's done.
and don't and let another bad game slip through. I feel like Telltale more and more is going to drop the ball unless they really make some effort here. That being said, the new Walking Dead Season 3 is supposed to be on the new engine. Maybe that'll fix some things. If they could get a game out there that wasn't just a bunch of quick time events and a choose your own adventure book, that would be great. So there is definitely room where they could get good games out there. They just have to do it and not compromise on quality. And I feel like Telltale in particular has a bad habit of compromising on quality. I have nothing to talk about. I've already erased my whiteboard, digital whiteboard. I don't know why I keep calling it by the brand name, Boogie Board. It's a dumb name.
Malfurion versus Anduin.
I keep calling it that
light
because that's
shall
what it
bring
says
victory.
right on the front of
must
it. If I
protect the
scratch that
wild.
off, I probably would forget the name of it. So yeah, I'm playing Castlevania Lord of Shadows, and that feels weird, certainly. And I was very surprised to have Jean-Luc Picard, Sir Patrick Stewart voicing a character in it. But yeah, I got into the first boss fight, and the first boss fight was completely different from what the game had been training me up to that point. And it still feels kind of strange.
Job's done.
I thought it was going to do an abilities where it gives me a bunch of abilities at the beginning of the game and then takes them away. It didn't. It feels strangely like Dante's Inferno, which if Dante's Inferno ever came to PC, maybe, but probably not. That game is so full of nudity that and
someone
just
injured?
grotesque violence. I would have to rate all of the series on as 18 plus, and I'm already doing that for
Job's done.
an entire time slot in Halloween month, and that's no good. Last thing I need is channels. My channel getting less than the few pennies it gets per view. It's not a good setup we're in right now situation.
Job's done.
So, but Dante's Inferno kind of does have a historical value of really ambitious, a really crazy game that was kind of doomed to fail at the first time. But it's probably, if not right below Duke Nukem Forever, it's probably, I would say, in the top 5 of the most over budget, most hyped and expecting great profits games for no reason. I will say that Castlevania Lords of the Shadows isn't as bad as Dante's Inferno, because Dante's Inferno, it's like the first time you see your dead wife on screen, she's topless for really no reason.
This isn't Moonglade.
For the wild.
So, unfortunately, there was one scene in Castlevania where a fairy showed up to a place and I just ignored it. That's my new policy. I'm just not going to mention it and hope nobody flags it with this whole YouTube friendly thing, which hasn't really gone anywhere yet, but it very quickly might. Let's see.
What to do?
Let's see. Like,
Let the dark consume you. Where?
like,
Job's done.
yeah, the whole friendliness policy thing. I saw a DocM77 who's a joke Minecrafter, and he kind of cusses a lot, and I think he manipulates the tags, and that's why he got flagged. But it also might just be because he has an incredible amount of
Join the pack.
and just like a incredible amount of
This isn't Moonglade.
followers going on here. Just a lot of people that watch his videos in particular, and
Chaos.
because of that, he was talking about how
Job's done.
Plague Inc., a series I covered and the series he covered, how his Plague Inc. things had not been getting any ad revenue at all.
I wield the power.
And that he was, and that's because the tags or the link or something had thrown him in that secret list of things that just wouldn't get advertised on. Now, when I went back and looked at my Plague Inc. video that had the most views, I had 45 views. So what can I really learn from that? I can tell you personally that it had that many views and it 45 views and no ad revenue at all. But when I clicked on the video, it played an ad. In fact, I've started paying a lot more attention about what kind of ads are playing on my videos and seeing if ads are actually playing. Particularly, I've noticed that like the overlay ads don't play if I have an overlay on at the beginning, so there's no overlay on overlay, so I put like subscribe now on a lot of my videos, and I kind of desperately need now to go back and take all of that off to get more ads. Plus, I now have a subscribe watermark there that says subscribe now, so that solves that desire. And frankly, it didn't get me many, if any, subscriptions anyways. Let's see. Give all your characters plus this.
I'll
This.
put it on your tab.
This. Summon them again, charge. And then silence. Then in the turn. So yeah, I went back and looked at the Plague Inc. and yes, it hasn't gotten any ad revenue, but it's also only gotten 45 views. So can I say that maybe at some point that video was in that naughty list and not getting ad revenue, and then they just sneakily took it out of that list?
Join the pack.
Maybe, but there's no evidence
For
for
the
that.
wild.
And I either haven't gotten scanned by this bot or have been scanned and completely passed by this bot. And I have over 3,000 videos, so either I'm doing something right or I haven't been scanned by the bot. People, they're talking about how they're getting all these emails telling them, like, your thing has been marked as advertiser unfriendly, therefore we're going to
For the wild.
you'll have to appeal it. And I imagine all the people appealing right now are just getting thrown back into a botted system, and it's just like, oh, nope, we're right. This is the standard, like, YouTube response when you appeal something, and it actually is YouTube
you
dealing with it.
mocking
They
me?
just go, we had somebody look at it, and they agreed it was still right. We did the right thing. It's just like they're just playing tricks here,
For the wild.
like a phone company or a cable company. It's like, look, we'll double check your bill to make sure all the charges we made up are right. Yep, they're all right. You didn't check anything. You have a standard operating procedure you've developed, and you're going to just lie and cheat and cajole people, harass them. But I haven't had to deal with any of that, so whatever. I mean, and my intention is to do what my intention was to do before any of this came about. I felt like the cat lady, and I have no mouth and I must scream. Both were going to be in a time slot that was a little bit earlier than they probably should be in, and therefore I felt it necessary to age restrict them. Plus, both those games are incredibly heavy on the psychological horror, which is probably a lot more traumatic to kids than any video game depiction of violence and stuff. The game Alice Madness Return was on sale for a short time, and I almost bought it, but again, only 75% off, and it's pretty much, unless it's a summer sale or winter sale or something, New Year's sale maybe, I just don't want to purchase any games that are big ticket things and old, because they'll just go on sale again cheaper. more than 75%. But I was thinking about getting that game, and that game is, at a certain point, you come to this realization that there's some heavy psychological stuff going on there. And I stupidly didn't even realize it until it was thrown directly in my face. I thought, no, they can't possibly be implying this. And yeah, they were. So that would be an 18 plus. If I played this new game, Agony, it'll be 18 plus rated. So there's several games that like that. Honey Pop, I may do 18 plus, but even if I did that, I would have to censor it. So I may very well not do 18 plus because it's then censored down to just a puzzle game and a dating simulator. Because that game really is just a puzzle game and a dating simulator with some sex scenes, and you're not going to get away with showing these sex scenes on YouTube. That's totally out. Even though YouTube seems to vaguely imply some nudity, as long as it's not to tantalize, is alright. So, anywho, I'm going to tantalize you and make you wait for the next recording. I'm going to play the rest of these quests off screen. That's a lot of work, but I have nothing more to talk about, and better to end the conversation here than get back to my old way of going which I feel like I have either stopped listening to myself as much with my new audio setup, or I'm not saying it as much. And I still say every now and then, but I don't think anyway as much. I think particularly having the echo in my headphones helps with that. So if you're a YouTuber, streamer or something, you might very well get a Blue Yeti and plug in headphones and see if that low latency feedback of what you're saying going back into your ears might help. Although it is slightly delayed, it seems to help me. Anywho, that's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment if you want to, and watch every second of my videos. All of that helps out. If you want to support me further, you can click on my name, Rydo. On the right is a blue button that says support this channel. Click it, make a donation. And if you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.